Hello everyone and welcome to this fifth video on Learning Delphi series. On this video we're going to see a more practical application for Delphi. We'll see a freefall distance calculator. Basically, imagine that you're sitting next to a well and you want to know how far is the surface of the water from you, or the distance in red. So basically what you would do is that you would throw an object and let an object drop from your hand at the surface of the well and time the time that it takes for you to hear the splash of the objects into the water. That time in second would be used in this nice formula, which is distance is equal to 1/2 gt squared, or more simply put, distance is equal to 0.5 times time that it takes for the object to touch the surface of the water, so for you to hear the splash, in seconds, multiplied by the same time, hence the squared, multiplied by 9.81, which is g, a constant. And I have here an example of that application. So basically you input right in here the time it takes for the object to fall in seconds, let's say 2 seconds, and you press on calculate and it gives you the height of the free fall to be 19.62 meters. I forgot to put there the unit, but we'll handle that a little later. So to make this application, we'll go back to Delphi, create a new VCL form application, and we're gonna add there a label and an edit for the user to input the time. Write a nice little thing here in the label, which would be time in seconds, and in the edit we're gonna empty it. We'll go to the property text and clear the text in there. Then we're gonna just add another label. I just like to use copy paste instead of just picking up the item from the palette tool, and we're gonna write here distance of free fall. You can write anything here that makes it look a little more convenient. Now the screen I'm using is a little big, so the text seems really small. So what I like to do is to change the font of the text on the form. You can actually go on the items one by one into their font properties and then change the font to anything you'd like. But a faster way to do it is to go on the form and change the font on the form. So I changes the font of all the objects on the form to default to be a little bigger, change the color, etc. Now we just add another button. Let's put its caption to calculate, so it'll be clear for the user. Change the caption of the form to free fall calculator. And now to the fun part, to the source code. Okay, you can, when clicking on this button, the event for it, for the on-click, we're going to write some code here. First, let me introduce to you the notion of variables. These are like little boxes where you put values into and you give them names. Let's see this in a practical example. So the variable we're going to use here, we're going to call it t, and its type is going to be real. So what we have here is the name of the variable, colon, its type, and semicolon to end the line. That is for time. And we're going to have d, which would be the distance. It's also going to be a real, because we want to have some commas in there, right? Numbers with dots or commas, depending on the region you're in. Okay, and we will have a constant. Now we write const to introduce the constant. G is equal to 9.81. Now a constant through the program does not change its value, while a variable does, since it is a variable, hence its name. Alright, So basically we'll have D is going to take 0.5 times T times T times G, semicolon. Now this T, we have to take it from somewhere, right? Remember, we have this edit here that is going to contain our T, right? So we're going to do T is equal to edit1.text. Now if you try to run this program, you're going to have an error which would tell you incompatible types, real and T caption. What this is really saying is that on this line, the edit1.text is a text and it cannot be assigned to a real. So we'll have to do as we did in the previous video, use a function to transform this text into a number. But now since T is a real, we will not use int str to int or string to integer, but rather we're going to use str to float, which changes a string to a floating number or a real. Alright, now that is done, we have to put the result into the second label, right over here, label number 2. So label2.caption takes the value of D, semicolon. Now when you try to run the program, another error happens, and of course D is a real and label2.caption is a string, so it won't work. What we'll do is use the reverse function of this str to float, which would be float to str of D, and then it is going to work, hopefully. To run the program, I use F9 instead of clicking the green button. Now if we write here 2, as in 2 seconds, it's going to write 19.62. And you notice that the text there has gone. The text that we had before, this distance for freefall. So to avoid this text from leaving and to have some meaning of that value, we will add or append in the beginning of it the same text will be distance of freefall. I just want to write it the same way so that it seems nice, and then a space here and plus. So this plus sign is here to concatenate text. If you remember from the second video of this tutorial, how a plus sign between strings concatenates them together. And now we can run it. Alright, so if we put 2 seconds, you'll see that distance to freefall is 19.62, and we will add the units so that it won't be the same as my example. So here we just put a plus sign to append some text or concatenate some text and put an M. To avoid sticking the M to the text, we put a space before the M. So now running it, hopefully it would be nice. Alright, distance of freefall is 19.62 meters. Let's try 2.5, and there you go. Alright, now instead of clicking the button, it would be more convenient to click on enter when you enter the value. To do this, we go back into the form and click on edit, and we have this event which is on key press. Double click this one, and this event has a parameter which is key, which is a character basically, and we are going to check if this character, if this key is equal to sharp 13, which is basically the ASCII code for a carriage return, or basically when you press enter. If we press a key and that key happens to be the enter key, then we are going to press the button number 1, and my computer is freezing again. Okay, perfect. So button 1.click will click the button without actually without the human interaction. So now when we are typing here, we type, let's say, 12 seconds, press enter, and we have the distance of free fall calculated. Thank you very much for watching this video, and don't hesitate to leave any comment. These are my first videos, my first tutorials. If you like them, give them a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.